Okay.
And how long are we going, Dana?
1 hour.
Got it. That's what I thought. Make sure.
Yes. Till 1 year time. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Oh, wait, I hear myself talking. Hold on one second. Let's see. Hold on. Okay, I think that will be better. Sorry, I've got it going in the training room here too also. Okay, guys, thanks for being on. Sorry, we're just a second late getting started, but I have some amazing guests for you today. Actually, you get a bonus guest that we didn't know that we were going to have today, which I'm really excited about. So Linda and I had planned to talk about shift and a shifting market and going through a recession. And Linda, will you share with them who your friend is and how we have an extra guest?
I will. My friend Terry Mueller, and we met at a Monica Reynolds women's conference. Yeah. Gosh, in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Early 90s. And I, of course, was a baby agent, not doing all the wonderful things everybody else was doing, and sat at a table with Terry and just with my mouth hung open at what great business she did. And then we went to conferences together, and we were in a mastermind group together, and we just became really best friends through real estate and have stayed best friends. And you and I had Terry as a great episode on our podcast.
One of our most listened to episodes ever, actually.
And we refer back to it all the time because there's no person better at keeping her clients than Terry is. And so we were here for a conference this weekend, and they hung over at the house with us. So you guys get a bonus today. You get a lot of knowledge today.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Awesome. Terry, we're so excited to have you.
Thank you, Dana.
I'm sure Linda roped you into this at the last minute. She was probably like, hey, throw on your lipstick and get on the Zoom with me.
That's our Linda.
That's right. That's right. Okay, guys. So before we get started, if you have any questions throughout this, if you can just please put them in the chat, that would be great. And we'll filter through those. So we recently heard a crazy statistic, crazy to me, that over 70%, we'll find the episode. I knew somebody was going to ask for that. Actually, Abby, I don't know if you might be able to look back through the episodes. It would say special guest, and I'll try to look through it too. So we'll post that in here, Sharon. Recently, NAR came out with the statistic that over 70% of the agents that are currently licensed with National Association of Realtors have entered the business after 07, 08. So they have actually never been through a shift or a recession, which is wild. If you have been through a shift or recession, will you type yes or no in the chat just so we can have a gauge?
And even Dana, if they've lived through a shift, I remember in the 08 shift, well, first of all, Brad, who was running my team, had not lived through a shift, but your team members may have never lived through a shift. So you may have, and it may be time that you got to start educating them because your team members have never gone through a shift.
Yep, totally, totally. Oh, we've got lots of no's and some yeses too. Okay, perfect. So when that statistic came out, I started thinking, gosh, I think it's easy for us to say, hey, pick up this book and go read it. But we know y'all, and a lot of y'all won't do that. But you will get on a Zoom and listen to us talk about it. So, and the other thing that we found out too, and this is why, oh my gosh, I'm so pumped that Terry's here, because a lot of times I think what people love the most are getting the ideas that will help them grow their business through the shift and really, really thrive through a shift. And the one quote that keeps sticking to me, and Linda and I've heard it over and over and over, is the market share that you get in a shift, you'll never lose, but the market share that you lose, you'll never get back.
Yeah.
And Linda, was it Gary that said, or I don't even know where that originated from. I feel like maybe Gary.
Yeah, it's probably from one of the masterminds, and as you say that, Dana, one of the things that we've always done when the market starts to shift is, offer your clients a shift book. A lot of them own businesses and maybe they've never been through a shift, or they have and they're panicked because they have been through one. But a shift book is a great opportunity to touch base with your people and ask them, who do they know that might kind of be talking about, they're a little bit worried about the economy and what's going to happen in the shift. So that's a great tool to use to use the shift book with your clients, or do a shift book mastermind with your clients.
Yeah, love that idea. Okay, Linda, will you quickly talk to us, and Terry jump into, I've only been through one shift. How many, Linda, have you gone through? And Terry?
I got in the real estate business in a terrible shift. I mean, matter of fact, we had 18% interest rates that could actually adjust up to 21%.
Wow.
And that was the first one. And then it lasted through the early 90s. And then the 2008 one was my second. So this will be my third. How about you?
Oh, I've had 5 shifts.
Wow. Okay.
Started my career in 1979. And so as a new agent, very much like Linda, the interest rates were 18%, but I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Terry, I feel like someone in the chat is getting ready to ask for you to post your face cream, like whatever you use on your, I'm like, how for 5 shifts? What?
But it's
No wrinkles.
it's that Southern California living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sunshine. It's sunshine and ocean or something.
What are your guys' take right now on this next one? Because I know everybody says it won't be as bad as what it was in 07, 08. Any thoughts just to kick us off that you guys have?
Well, I think, what I was talking to Linda about earlier is that this is the first time that I have seen where the shift is everywhere at the same time.
Yeah.
So going to the conference that we just went to, there were agents from all around the country, and everyone was talking about the same thing. And so whereas in the past, California was one way, and maybe Florida or Texas or the Midwest, it's all been the same. It's like 5 or 6 weeks ago, all of a sudden, everything stopped.
Yeah.
And so the challenge that I think that we have, or at least I have right now, are the clients that I have that got caught in it.
Yeah.
That got caught in it. And like many of the people out there, and again, going back to the conference that we went to and talking to so many different agents, is that we were all telling people that, we'll put your house on the market on Thursday and hear all the offers on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And that's how it's been for a long time. And so now it's really managing the client's expectations. Yeah. And again, what you talked about at the beginning, Dana, most agents have not had the experience of, any of this stuff. I mean, I know in the last 2 years, we were selling houses that people didn't care if they had an inspection. And now we've got inspection issues, and we've got people asking for money back, and things that we haven't done for a long time.
Yeah. And Dana and Terry's right. We know we may not have the foreclosures we had before, but what we will have is expectations that we have to learn how to have great scripts and dialogues around to manage. Because at the conference this past weekend, one agent, a really good agent, said, I had a seller want to fire me after 10 days because the house hadn't sold.
Yes.
So there must be something wrong with me. And so learning what's your listing presentation.
I just wrote that down. Yep.
So when you go in, you've got to have a listing presentation that's real clear, that you get from them, kind of what they're expecting. Did they hear from a person at a party last week that they got 50 offers? Because, that's old news, but to them, that's fresh news. So that's the main thing is no, you may not have all the foreclosures, but you're going to have prices not going up. So you're going to have to know how to price better. I mean, there's just so many skills that are going to come into play that no matter how much it's shifting, if it's shifting at all, you'll have to learn how to have those skills and scripts and dialogues and presentations.
Yeah, I just wrote down one thing too that I wanted to make sure that everybody knows, and we've said this many times, but we've moved from a speed-based market to back to a skill-based market. Yeah. And I think that's really important for everybody to note. It's not necessarily that the market that we've been in has been easy. I mean, some people would say it's been easy, but some people would say it's been terrible because they wrote 54 offers to get 2 accepted. Yeah. So I think it's been more of a speed-based, and we're moving back to a skill-based market. And just like you said, Linda, and one of the things I wanted us to touch on is some of the agents, and a lot of them maybe even on today, have never actually had a listing presentation because they've never had to.
Yeah.
They just they've never had conversations around how to have price reductions because they've never had to.
Right.
And so I think when I think of moving back to a skill-based market and sharpening your skills, those are some of the things you may have never had to learn scripts because you haven't had to have scripts.
Mhm.
But as we move back into that, we will. So what are some things that you guys can think of other than those, or even expanding on those, but having a strong listing presentation, really knowing the expectations around sellers? What advice or around pricing? I mean, what advice would you give some of the people listening who've never done that before?
Well, one of the things that I want to talk about is being an expert in the market.
Mhm.
I
love it.
I just wrote my letter from the heart, which I write every month to my clients. And in my letter from the heart, I wrote about experts. And I
Mhm.
said, whether you are looking for a realtor or whether you're looking for a financial planner or anybody to do with your the big things in your life, you really need an expert now. So there's lots of people doing lots of things, but you need that expert.
Mhm.
So
Yep, I love that.
Talking to you about
Yeah.
your damage here with the insurance.
Yeah.
You have a really good insurance person. You have an expert at insurance,
Yeah.
because otherwise you wouldn't have been able to benefit from that.
Yeah.
So being an expert in the marketplace and really knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
And knowing the pricing, we're talking about pricing, but I mean, in the past, we always went out and looked at homes, but now, sometimes we get away from looking at homes because
Yeah.
we're just going to look at them online.
Yep.
But we really need to be that expert in the market.
And
Yeah,
I think
I love that.
I agree with everything she said. You need, because sometimes what has happened in the past is you could have one market that's moving faster, always first time home buyers moves a lot faster. And then your upper end just comes to a complete stall
Yeah.
and you can't get them to sell. So you've got to learn how to have conversations with both of those kind of people. And I think your communication is going to have to change. I remember I used to tell people, hey, I'll be giving you a call every, I would tell them 10 days and I would communicate in 7, because if you wait till that 10, somewhere about day 9 or 10, they're calling you, and there's nothing worse than you pick up the phone and they're on the other line wanting to know why they're not going to sell. You start tap dancing real quick. So you got to be ahead of everything, like your communication, how much will you communicate with them? Because in absence of communication, they make up stories and it's never the true story. So you don't want them out there making up stories. So texts probably aren't going to be as effective as picking up the phone. And that's going to be hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But when things are rough, they don't want to, things can get messed up through a text. So being brave enough to pick up the phone and explain to them why, the market is just, it's slowing, and, that's telling us something, right? And we got a couple options here. So just keeping that communication, maybe in a different style than you've been used to also.
Yeah. Really fast, but I don't want to forget it. Terry, someone asked, are you snail mailing your letters from the heart or emailing them?
Oh, I do both.
Okay.
So I have a newsletter that I send out every month.
Is it the same one that goes out both ways?
Yeah.
Same one.
It's the same one.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Okay. Yep. And I love that. I love the being just the expert and the local economist. I think now, and actually, Linda, I got sucked into watching that Unwell on, and now I'm like, want to get stung by bees and crap, but, everything Linda gets me into, Adam is like, oh Lord, what are we doing now?
So we cannot take me off the wedding list though.
No, it's not happening. But it was funny because, they said something on there and I thought, man, gosh, that's just like us. They said now people seek out their own information. Like when something's wrong with us. Yeah. Remember when they said that when something's wrong with us now, we don't just go to the walk-in clinic or call our doctor. We seek out our own information. We're like looking at influencers or bloggers or reading this on this website or listening to their podcast. Yeah. To try to figure out what it is. And as soon as he said that, I thought, oh my gosh, our clients do the same thing. So if they're not,
they better not know more than you. You bet. Right. I can tell real quick whether a doctor knows as much as I do, because I spend a lot of time and energy around it. And my biggest turnoff is they're stupid and they act like it's still the way it was forever ago. And I won't go back to them.
But how great of a point is that for us as real estate agents and the 80 something plus on here and the hundreds that are going to watch the recording? If you think that what you've always known is still the way to think and you're not willing to get on a plane like these ladies still do, and I know some of you do too, but go be involved in masterminds and groups and you're figuring out what's happening and because it does change. And our clients, they're just like us. If they can't get the answer, they're getting on and they're going to find it from somebody if they're not getting it from you.
And they're going to go with the person that they feel like is most knowledgeable and is the expert, because when things go bad, you do want an expert. You're thinking, I don't see, when things are going good, you're thinking, oh, anybody can sell my house, and they don't think our value is there. But when things are harder, they really do appreciate us more. So Terry and I both were talking about how we're kind of looking forward to it a little bit, because there is a whole better appreciation.
Well, they need us now.
Yeah, they need us. Yeah.
But one of the questions I always ask my client is, where do you get your information from?
Love that. Yep.
And so I want to know if they Google everything, or they, belong to something, or they get it on Fox News or,
or Zillow or.
So where do you get your information? Because you're right. When you go into a listing appointment now, I mean, they think they already know, and so I always say, gee, where do you get your information from?
Yep.
Great one.
Yep. I love that. Okay. So really quickly, let's talk about some of the tactics. I think we've touched a little bit. The first one is get real, get right. It always starts with your mind. Anything else that you guys would add on that? Because one of the things I think of is I hear that we'll have like the turnover of agents. There'll be some that are going to get out of the business because they don't want to adopt. They don't want to learn technology. They don't want to go through another recession. They're burnout, they're going to fluctuate out. And then there's going to be some that fluctuate in. I think sometimes when people hear a recession, or a shift, they automatically go such to the negative. What would you say about mindset? Because I think there's a lot of opportunity that can be gained too.
Yep. You want to go first?
Yeah. Mindset is everything. And, when I think of some of the shifts that I've gone through, it's always I've done well coming into a shift, because I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm learning based. So I'll go out there and learn whatever I need to learn. And I've always wanted to be the expert on everything. So I'm probably overqualified on just about everything, like Linda. We're just always learning something new. But when it really comes down to it, it's really the way you think about things. And I always say, in fact, on my telephone calls, it says, what you think about, you bring about. And I believe that if I want to, and I tell my clients that, because they all know I'm like that. And I say, if we really want to find a buyer, then we have to all think together that we're going to have that buyer for your nice home.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, for me, I used to have a ritual, because what will start to happen is you'll feel like there's more realtors than there is business. And so what do you do when that happens? And a couple of things. One that used to help me was I'd go get in my car just to maybe even go to the Sonic and get a soda or something. But I would make sure I would drive through neighborhoods and see how many rooftops there really were. Yeah. Or get on the MLS and see how many homes sold last month, because when you do that, you realize that there's enough homes out there. I'm just not getting my share. So then my issue begins to be, how do I get my share? And so I get real about the fact that it's not that there's not enough sales going on. It's the fact that I'm not getting enough of that I need to hit my goals. So that's one thing. And then the other is have a peer partner that can kind of spot when what I call go in the gap or go in the, the gray space, and kind of just maybe give them the mineral rights questions from Fierce Conversations, and have them just start asking you questions, because when someone starts asking you questions, it activates your brain to get out of the place where you are. And you'll very quick, it's kind of like when the doctor starts asking you questions, you start feeling better and solving your problem yourself. Yeah. You'll do the same thing here. But the problem is you're keeping it all inside and it's getting pushed down. You're not talking it out with somebody. So find a peer or somebody that you can say, hey, I just need to talk to somebody. Dana and I just call and say, hey, I just need an adulty or adult. I did that to Nikki this morning, and we realized we all need an adulty or adult. But so find out figure out where do you get in that low space? What is it causes that? And then if you don't have any idea what to get out, find somebody and say, hey, if you were me, what would you do in this situation? Here's where I tend to start feeling down and like I don't really know if I want to go through this shift or do whatever. But everybody does it. So don't think you're the only one. I mean, everybody does it. And you just want to, figure out who can you talk to that's going to maybe help you see things differently. One of the things that helped us, like even this weekend, was just getting ideas from other people about how they're overcoming some of the buyer's objections of different things. So get around other people because they'll give you ideas that you can then go back and use on your appointments.
Yeah. Somebody asked, this is a great question. Where do you go to actually get your information from? I mean, I think one of you two just now said it a second ago too, but you should be the master of your MLS in your local stats.
Yeah.
And I see that she's on, but I mean, I don't know anybody in our area better than Jenny Matioc at that. They look every morning and every day, and she knows exactly how many homes came on and how many price reductions and all of those things. If you don't know how to do that stuff, you need to find, every day there she is. You need to find somebody to teach you how to do that. And then I think there's several others. I mean, we never miss a chance to go to Mega Camper Family Reunion and hear
this kind of thing right here. What we're doing today.
Yeah, constant, just anything podcast. I mean, there are so many great ones. See, there you go. 74 price changes in the past 24 hours on our MLS.
I don't know about your MLS, but our MLS, I can put I call it like I'm a stockbroker, and it says how many new listings, how many price reductions. And I show that to the client when I'm sitting there working with them. And I tell them that I watch this every single day. And I also years ago put a spreadsheet together, and so that I can keep track of, how many new listings and, and understanding absorption rate, because, we've had no absorption rate because it's been a negative number. But when you can sit down with a client and explain those things. Now, I've been blessed, I think, over my career, 75% of my clients are engineers. So I'm used to being data driven.
Bless you.
And so in my early part of my career, I had agents who used to agents in my own office refer people to me
because they didn't want to work with the engineers.
Because they didn't want to work with the engineers.
Yeah, they can be tough.
And but and I prepare every listing appointment. Every time I go out with someone, I prepare for the engineer. Now, I don't use all of that because we all understand the disc profile, so I don't want to overwhelm somebody.
But you're prepared.
But I'm prepared, and so I always look like the expert because I'm overly prepared.
Yeah. I love that.
Data and information is, if you walk in and you've got all the information, you're going to shine more than anyone else.
Yeah. And using examples of right now, if gasoline was, $10 a gallon over here and it's $5, where are you going to go get your gasoline? Because in a shifting market, houses become commodities. And so they're very price sensitive. And so you could, and like you looked in that documentary and you found something that related, look for other outside places that you see people, probably do it themselves. They compare prices and they go with the one that's priced the best and stuff. So look for outside examples to use or ask great questions, get them, because our dilemma is they're emotional because they think all this stuff. So we got to move them to logic, and great questions move people to logic.
Yeah, I love that. I think too, Terry, you said something earlier, you're always learning based, and obviously Linda and I are the same way. And when you said that, Linda, it just made me think I'm the person, I think I took 17 pages of notes from the Garth Brooks documentary on leadership and just success. I mean, I think when you start to get your brain like that, I mean, Adam gets so frustrated because I can't watch this show without, I'm like, give me my notebook really fast because I got to write that down or put it in my phone. But you just constantly start to see other things and you'll relate them to what you do. I mean, and I pay attention to things. I know you ladies do too, but like Gary gave this, or it was in Mega Camp or something. I mean, I immediately within a day, Heather had this printed and laminated for me because I wanted to be able to use this. The reliably forecasting recessions. How long did they last? When were the last ones we had? When did they start?
Yes.
When did they end?
Yes.
I mean, show up with something laminated and you're an expert just because it's like, just because it's laminated.
Yeah.
Not really, but you have to know those things. And if you're not quick at knowing those numbers or learning them, like it needs to be in front of you all the time so that you get it.
You know, and it's okay. I mean, you don't need to have everything in your head. In fact, showing things,
Yeah.
you know, show and tell is
Yeah.
such a big thing.
Yeah.
And so I love showing statistics and showing things to people. But one of the things that we talked about this weekend with some of the people that we met is that it's a price war and a beauty contest.
Yeah.
Now that
we used to use that
we used
years
to
ago.
use that years ago.
Wait, okay, what does that mean?
A price war means that you're going to have it priced right and it's got to look right.
Yeah.
Well, in the last 2 years, at least in California, you
Didn't
could
have to
stick
do either
anything
one.
on the market.
Right.
What it look like. Now it's got to be priced right and it's got to look good. And so, you know, we need to get back to staging and making sure our houses look good and all that. And you know, and so you can't just, you know, take your iPhone and go take pictures. You need a professional, you know, and I always tell everyone that, at least in our area, that when you get a showing on your house, it's the second showing. The first showing happens online.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so important, especially on the listing side, is that we use professional pictures, video, or, you know, in Southern California, I mean, I don't know how it is here, but in Southern California, I mean, there's a lot of competition. And so you've got to do things, you know, at a very high level.
High quality.
And, but in the last 2 years, I saw many listings that it was an iPhone pictures and, you know, they got away with that stuff, but I still did everything that I always have done.
Yeah. That's a great point.
But now we need it.
Yeah. Now you have to do it.
Absolutely. Well, actually that walks right into the next thing I was going to ask, which is about remargining your business and expense management. Sometimes I think we can be guilty of like, oh my gosh, we just got to stop everything, you know. What would you say is cutting? Like I see people cut their coaches, move out of their offices, they stop all their direct mail. And I'm like, wait a minute, if it's there's a difference between an expense and an investment.
Yeah.
What would you guys say on that?
Well, first of all, you never cut anything that's working, and you should have been measuring everything all along.
Yeah.
So you measure it for some kind of return. And here's the thing, if I've got a coach and I'm not seeing value in the fact that I've got a coach, I should have got rid of that coach already a long time ago.
Right.
But I don't go get rid of a coach who's helping me be more productive. I don't care what's happening in the marketplace. So we should have, number one, always hold your money accountable to give a return. So should have been doing that already, right? But now it's imperative that you do it because you're not going to have extra money necessarily to just throw things at the wall and see if it sticks. But I would never get rid of anything that is a lead generation that actually works or investing in myself because I am the asset. I'm either, I'm either going to be a pro athlete at this or I'm not.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. Yeah. Terry.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with everything that Linda says. And I think about, maybe because I've been in so many shifts, that, I think I was just thinking about the question is that every quarter, even in the last 2 years, I met with my team and we looked at everything that we've been doing and should we do something different?
Mm-hmm.
Should we go ahead and do the 3D, the 3D stuff. I mean, so we looked at all those things quarterly and we started implementing things as we went along, just based on, I had the feeling that this was coming. So.
Yeah. Well, that's great because that reminds me of the Wayne Gretzky, like you skate to where the puck is going, not where it is. And Gary always says you should act like the market that is coming, not the one that you're in.
Yeah. And I would probably, if I was going to cut anywhere too, I'd cut as much personally as I would anywhere else because if you do gain market share here, you never lose. I've never lost market share that I gained, and I've always gained market share in a shift.
Yeah.
So you kind of should be prepping to be ready for it, and cut personally before I would cut anything in business that's working, because now's the time to go big, because you can gain market share and gain business that you could keep for the rest, the next 20 years.
Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like Gary mentioned that on our mastermind too, that a lot of people say they have to go to their business, but they won't cut out their Starbucks every day, or their lavish, all their stuff that they do. Because we don't think about that. And usually that can be a big deal. What about, let's talk really fast about expectations with the sellers, like actually setting, because I'm hearing from a lot of our agents too, that they're going in and people are still thinking that they can have the prices that they had a month ago or 2 months ago. What would you guys say on just being able to manage their expectations that way? Linda, you kind of touched on that in the beginning, but maybe go a little bit deeper on that.
Yeah, I think that is the number one thing right now that we have to do.
Yeah.
And again, going back to what I said, I always say, where do you get your information from?
Yeah.
And so I ask a lot of questions up front, because I need to know where they're coming from so that I can deliver my presentation based on that. And so, and I always ask, 90% of my business comes from my database, but I have a lot of referrals from people too. I always ask, when was the last time you used a real estate agent? How did you like that agent? It almost hurts me when I hear somebody who bought a house 5 or 6 years ago and they don't even remember their agent. Because I work very hard to keep my clients and keep myself in front of them all the time. But, really sitting there and saying, again, you have to be able to have your data or your information so you can show them that you're the expert, and then, telling them exactly how it's going to be. And, and telling stories. I'm a big storyteller, and I like to be able to, say that, last week this happened and this is what it was. And, and because I've been in the business for so long, I don't even have to make them up. They're all true. But people relate to stories, and other people, they want to feel like somebody else.
Totally agree with that.
And I was like last week, before we came here for the conference, my clients are sitting there saying, oh, I feel like I waited too long, and they were all like negative. And, so at first I had to get them that, no, listen, I'm the expert. I'm going to be able to get you through this, and so we can do it. And, so it's really like sitting there, asking the right questions and delivering the information according to what you hear.
And I always say this in everything that I teach: no one does what you tell them. Buyers don't, sellers don't, and we can't make buyers buy or sellers sell. What we have to do is get people to really self-discover. That either you're the person, this is the time, this is the price, this is what we should do, whatever. And the greatest way to do that is great logical questions that make them think, great stories that they can see their own selves in, and experientially, which means sometimes we've had to get them in the car and take them to see some of the competition. But back to the presentation, I think it's set in your listing presentation. And this is one of the reasons why I just redid all my listing course and everything else, is because most people don't think to go in and ask questions. And one of the first questions I think that's most valuable you can ask is, I know time is, thank you for having me out tonight. I know time is your most valuable asset, and so that I don't waste it. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10, we totally meet your expectations, or 1, I totally waste your time tonight. What are your expectations for our meeting tonight? Because what I want to know is, are they already planning on listing with me? Do they need me to prove to them why they should list? And you got to get clear about that first, and you got to be okay to ask great questions and then let silence do the heavy lifting, and not, let it go until it's completely awkward, and then go a little bit longer. And that's going to be real hard for a lot of people to do, but you want them to tell you as much as you possibly can before you jump in and start telling them, what you think. And so majority of your questions should be more consultative and more great questions, and figuring out, if we can't get the price you want, but we get you there on time, is that okay? Or if I get you there with hardly any hassles, and is that okay? I mean, you got to figure out where are they willing to give a little, or where are they just a line in the sand and they're not going to budge, right? And then you also have to be willing to ask people how motivated they are, because this is not a time that you can work with the unmotivated, right?
Yep.
You want to, unless you just want to be kind of drug all over the schoolyard like a puppy or something, because that's what'll happen. They'll just drag you everywhere. But you gotta try to figure out their motivation, and that's how you choose who you work with, is their motivation.
Yeah, one of the questions that I ask up front is, what's important about selling your house now?
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Love it.
Yeah.
You know, and then going deeper on that and writing down all of this so that later, when you're in the middle of negotiating repairs, that you can say, you know, I wrote down here, Mr. Seller, in my notes, that you told me that it was really important for you to get to, you know, Denton, Texas, to be with your family. And so is it, you know,
is that still a priority? Yeah.
You know, and so, and, you know, I write down everything. And like Linda had mentioned about how people forget things.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we started probably a few years back now is that we do the ultimate, it's called the ultimate scenario. So we take what people say to us. Now we're doing a lot of Zoom still, you know, Zoom.
Yeah. With your clients.
Yes. I like to do a listing appointment on Zoom first.
Oh,
you know,
wow. Okay. Love that.
And then I record it. Okay. And then I can go back. I tell them I'm going to record it so I don't forget anything.
Yeah.
And then I go back and then we capsulize what they said and we send it to them in an email. And so then later I can go back and, you know, tell them what it is that they told me.
Yeah.
That they said they didn't say.
Yeah.
So Terry, you do your first appointment with them is on Zoom and then you go to their house after that?
Yes. Yeah.
I
I've
love
been doing
that.
Yeah. I really like it because I want my whole team there. I have a small team.
Yeah.
So, and there's 4 of us. And so, and we're all, you know, doing something. And so we all come together. And that's been my best success.
You mean on the Zoom call?
Yeah,
That's awesome.
we're all together. And then we all talk. And even if they can't stay the whole time, like one works with the buyers and one works with the listings with me. And then Raymond helps me, my husband, on the inspection, but they get to see everybody up front and they get to see who we are.
See all the people that are working for
Yes. And so that's been great for us. And then we also, again, because our team is smaller, right after that, then what we do is that we do a group text and a group email. So everybody gets to see everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So,
yeah, that's good. That's really good.
You guys, I think the part of this virtual is here to stay. I don't know that we'll ever I mean, it's so much more efficient.
Yeah.
well, I think that the pandemic really helped us.
Yeah.
And so I rarely do I have somebody who doesn't know how to do it, even older people, because their grandkids have taught them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody seems to know Zoom and everybody's busy. And
Yep.
so after, you know, we started being able to go out, and California was the worst, you know, we were shopping for everything. But after we started going out, then people were still, I say, hey, here's your choice. I can come over to the house, or I could start off with a Zoom call and we can talk about, you know, your expectations and what
Love
we
that.
deliver. And
You get into pricing on there on the Zoom?
No, I don't usually get into pricing. I can give somebody a range, you know. And, the other thing I always ask everyone, I suppose you've already gone to Zoom and looked at the value of your house.
You mean Zillow?
Zillow.
Yeah. Sorry, Zillow. Yeah. I say that's just one of my questions. So probably you've gone to Zillow to look at the price of your house, and they're either going to say, oh no, I don't even go in. I don't even know how to get in there. So that tells me their level. Or they say, yeah, Zoom said my house was worth this.
Zillow.
Yeah, Zillow. I'm sorry. Zillow.
One of them Z words.
Yeah. And, you know, so right
Then you
there,
know what you're up
yeah,
against.
then I know what I'm up against, you know.
Because they
and
might have in their mind that it's worth $500,000 more than what it is because Zillow said that.
Yeah. And then you can always go to Redfin, and Redfin's always lower, you know, so before I go to somebody's house, I do Zillow, Redfin, and anything else I can find so that I have that data. Because when they say to me, Zillow said this, I can say, well, Redfin said this.
So with who you
And
one of the things that came up on the script off this weekend was,
Yeah.
well, if Zillow had said your house was worth $50,000 less, would you have gone with them? Would
Yeah.
you have believed them? So it
Well,
couldn't be the other way. That's good though, Redfin.
Yeah. The other thing that we learned this week, somebody said, has Zillow been in your house?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I love that.
Yeah. And then the thing I thought of for Zillow too is, they can't even get their own evaluations right on the houses they're buying. So how can they get yours right?
Yeah, which is very accurate. Very accurate.
But you have
people
to know
asking,
that. See, you have to know that information because if
yeah,
you don't,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
Is people are asking, is it Star Power? Is that the group?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And actually,
resurrected.
Yeah.
yeah, because
we got resurrected.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't met for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I felt like I've heard Linda talk about that so many times, but I thought it was like not a thing anymore. So that's cool though, that they had that.
Well,
Megan asked,
we went to just meet the people, but we ended up learning a lot,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. It was fun.
that's awesome. Megan asked, let me ask a couple questions here, and then I just have about 2 or 3 more I want to try to get through. Megan asked a great question, and we say this a lot. So she asked, is the opportunity for gain in market share during a recession due to other agents leaving, skill-based, or what are the greatest factors that can contribute to that? And my answer would be, it's all of the above. I think
Yes.
a shift in a recession requires more work. And I think there are always going to be people that will put in the work and people that won't put in the work. And
Yeah.
so I think in my mind, Megan, I think a lot of it is the people that think that they can just do what they've always done and they don't have to sharpen their skills and they don't have to create more experiences for their clients and they don't have to become the expert. They will lose market share from the agents that are willing to do those things and that not only want to do it, but they'll actually go and do it. Anything else you guys would add on that?
Oh, well, because if you're the expert and you sound different than everyone else,
Yeah.
and you have a great presentation that asks lots of great questions, because the person that talks the most feels like it was the best presentation. So you don't want to be the one that leaves there thinking you were awesome. You want them to think, man, that was so different and so awesome. And so winning more to me is one of the ways you'll come out ahead is you'll win more of the at bats you get on.
Yeah. Yeah. What I think is great about Keller Williams is that Gary Keller has always taught us to be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Totally.
So I think that Keller Williams agents really have the opportunity to be ahead of the game. And I really, and I just see this in my area where people are, they don't know what to do. Agents don't know what to do now, not agents in my office, but on the outside, and they're behind. And so it'll probably be 2023 before they wake up and decide, oh, it's different.
Well, they'll get frustrated because a lot of people are already starting to go out on appointments and not know how to handle some of the objections they're getting. So.
Well, and also Terry had a good point too. I think there will be some people, Megan, who will, they won't want to do the professional, photographs, and they won't want to do videos, and they won't want to invest in some of the things that they need to actually be relevant and be kind of more with it. And so when their clients are out looking for those things and they're not willing to provide them, then they'll lose that market share to somebody who is.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 more kind of bigger, quick questions. Obviously the rates are rising. Linda, you said you started when they were 18%. I know Gary said they were 23% or something when he started. Terry, I'm sure you've seen all of them too. What can you guys talk about creating urgency with our buyers, and how much does or does not the rates affect? Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of these agents have in their mind, oh my gosh, the rates are going up. The rates are going up. And yeah, they have gone up a little bit. And some people say we might see 8 by the end of the year. Who the heck knows? But what would you say around that? Because people still buy houses.
Yeah.
Definitely people still buy houses. And that's what Linda was talking about, the motivation. So you got to have the motivation. But the other thing is that I've always prided myself in understanding loans.
So, Terry, I'm so glad you said that, because I'm not to interrupt you, but I was going to say that I just learned, Gary told us in the last mastermind, 1 in 5 mortgages today, as of the end of June, are an ARM. And the large percentage of realtors don't know how to explain what an ARM is.
Exactly. I was just
And
going to
buy
say
downs.
that is
Yeah.
that I spend a lot of time with my lender and making sure that I totally understand what new products are out there.
Huge takeaway.
Yeah. And so understanding finance, you know, one of the things on my buyers, on our buyer consultation, and we do those on Zoom too. My lender comes on that buyer consultation.
Love it.
So when it's on Zoom, it's much easier, you know, so the buyer comes and the buyer's just there so that I can show the, you know, and I say right in front of my lender that, you know, it's totally up to you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, if you want to use our lender or not. However, this person is somebody that we've used for years and he's an expert in this kind of first time buyers, you know, whatever you are, I'm an expert in that. I'm an expert in first time buyers, sellers.
Sorry, guys. Abby, I don't have access to mute. Thank you. Okay, perfect. Sorry, Terry, go ahead.
So one thing you got to spend some time kind of thinking around this. One thing that's good to do is, like you just said, Dana, you said that some places are telling us that they could go to 8% by the end of the year. So Mr. and Ms. Bauer, would you rather buy a house at 5? Will 5% look good when we get to 8? Would you wish you had bought at 5% or 4% or whatever the number is at the time?
Yeah.
When we get to 8 or maybe even more. So that's one thing you have to get them to think about. The other thing, and I think I heard this from somebody at the conference this week, is marry the house and date the rate, meaning you can.
Yes, I love that.
Because this person wanted to wait. We had the audience make us a list of objections and then we all just handled them. And one of the objections was the person thinks the rates are going to come down. And so they want to wait, right?
Oh.
So you can tell them to marry the house and date the rates, because you can always refinance if they do come down. But if they don't come down, you're safe because you went ahead and did the house. And then you got to learn about buy downs big time, because
yes, we talked about that.
I mean, tons of people, you know, sellers will have to be willing to pay some points to buy them down sometimes.
Yeah, people in Gary's top group said that's already back. That their MOFers now are seller is willing to buy down rate.
Yeah. And then the other thing is tell them to take, if the prices had continued to go up last year and people were paying $100,000 over asking compared to the rate going up just a little bit, figure out the difference between 2 or 3 points in the rates compared to if they had been in the same place with a lower rate, but had to pay $100 to $1,000 more for the house. So you can run those numbers and kind of let them see it that way. Again, you're moving people from emotion to logic. And the best way you can do that is statistics and numbers and facts.
Yeah. And the more that you can help people self-discover, like Linda said earlier, people don't want to be told. They don't want to be sold. They don't want to be told.
Right.
But if you ask enough questions and you provide enough data, and I always say to my clients that if you cannot make a decision anytime during the time that we're working together, it's my fault.
Yeah.
It's my fault because I didn't give you enough information to make a good decision. And I tell them, I'm never going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to give you enough information so that you can make that wise decision.
Yeah. And I think if you go ahead and let them know up front that you're okay if they don't do anything, you take the air out of, they think you're just trying to sell them on doing something. And just say, you know, honestly, at the end of this, you may discover that it is not the right time for you to buy, and that'll be absolutely okay. You'll have made the best choice for you. However, you might decide that it is. And so either way, I'm okay. So they don't think you've got commission breath and you're trying to, you know, sell them. And that way, everything you say after that, they're going to understand, oh, okay. So I cannot have to buy. I can get out of this. I cannot do this. And then they listen better and they're more willing to. It's kind of like when you do a takeaway with somebody, they don't want to be rejected and they don't want something taken away. Right. So I sometimes will try to lead with that because I don't really care. Honestly, I know I'm not good enough to make a buyer, seller, an agent join me. I'm just not, you know, and I don't never even want to get in that game to try. So once you do that, it kind of helps a little bit too.
Yeah. And some of the listeners might think, well, that's easy for Linda and Terry because, you know, they've got a lot of business. They've been around for a long time. But honestly, I've done that from day one.
Yeah.
You know, because I learned about myself that I didn't like to have negativity around me. And so, you know, I learned up front that it was better to take people who really want to do something and motivated and not just take anyone.
Yeah. Yep, love that. Yep. Let's see, Hilda asked, any book recommendations on helping clients with self-discovery. I'm typing in the chat right now. The first one that pops in my head, Linda, is Never Split the Difference. And we have him on our podcast, and that's an amazing book on negotiating.
Are they asking books to give the sellers?
No, books to help her with helping. Well, I don't know. Hilda, will you clarify that? Do you mean for the sellers or for you to learn how to help them self-discover better? If you want to just let us know in the chat, and then I might have misunderstood that. For agents to self-discover better. Okay, for them.
There's a book, The Question Behind the Question.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's how you learn to go deep. So you ask enough questions. Like if you go 7 deep, that's what that book's about.
And, you know, Dana, I think about, because I just got off the phone last week with Sid Walker, and I hope you and I can
do
this webinar for everybody, because he's created a new online course. But I love all of his strategy, because what he teaches you is to don't come from ego, because ego is what makes us nervous and doesn't want to call and do all that stuff. If we can come from contribution, and that's what really this is, then you're not as hesitant to talk to people or say things to people, because you don't have an agenda. You don't have ego involved. And so I'm sitting here looking at this book that in which he's on our podcast. I don't remember which one he is, but How I Conquered Call Reluctance, Fear of Self-Promotion, and Increased My Prospecting. And really all he does is work with your mindset to pick up the phone. He doesn't really tell you, because what he says is your instinct and your heart knows what to say. But you're letting your ego try to convince you that there's this thing you got to say or do. And so I'm excited about his stuff again, because he teaches you that ego is the one that causes us to get in so much issues. And if we'll come from, contribution in the heart, then just like Terry has always done, you'll get a whole lot more in the long run. So I would probably, pick up some of his work. His name is Sid Walker, and he's got 2 or 3 books, but I like it because he really works on your mental.
He's awesome. Yeah, that was one of our most listened to episodes too. And he was great. And I'll include those episodes in the follow-up email. So anyone who registered, also make sure that we send all that out too. Okay, last 5 minutes. And if you guys have any questions, make sure and type it in the chat. But I know you guys have done some crazy things to stand out amongst your competition. Linda has stood on roofs. Adam says I say that word wrong. Roof, whatever, tops of houses. And didn't you, Linda, how do you say it? You're not probably the person for me to ask either.
No, you and I are going to say it the same way. I would say roofs, but it's probably roof. I don't know. Let's just go with what we know. Roof. Let's just don't stand on the roof.
That's what Terry. That's what Adam's. When I say that word, he starts to bark like a dog. Like he's like,
what does he say?
Roof.
It's not a U. It's an O. I don't know. You know what?
Yeah, Allie said too.
Y'all know what we mean, but get up there on top of that where the shingles are.
Yes, Linda's gotten where the shingles are. Terry's done a million things. I think the one thing I remember is you send in a $2 bill when your client's kids lose their teeth or something crazy.
And a $10 gas card.
Yeah.
Yes, when they get their
gas card.
Oh, now. Hey, that's what we said the other day. We were talking in a group, and I said, honestly, the best thing you could do right now is give them, instead of a $10 gas card, give them a 25, and the parents would probably steal it from the kid. She gives it to the teenager who just got their license.
It's the best idea. I know so many people love those ideas. So what are some of those things that you guys do or have done to really stand out?
Yeah.
And to build a relationship?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my cards, and that's what we did the special thing on. My cards have always been good. And this is snail cards. Yeah. You can do, send out cards, and you can do all kinds of other cards, but these are still, and now because hardly anybody gets any mail, with an actual stamp on it, handwritten, but sending, I sent out, I probably sent out $200 worth of cards for graduation.
Wow.
And I find these on Facebook. So I look at Facebook and I look for things. And so I'll send a $50 gift card for a graduation. And so I found a lot of graduation people. And then I sent the $2 bills to all those kids that go from preschool to kindergarten and they graduate, at least in California, they do that.
Yeah.
And so, doing things that, I kind of look at what everybody else is doing, and I do the opposite.
Yeah. Or if
Yep.
they're doing nothing, you do just a little bit more.
Yeah. But
Yeah. And I would say, I tend to lean towards, like educating people.
Yeah.
Like I would probably, one of the first things I would probably do is put together an opportunity to teach people shift.
Yeah.
Because they don't really, I taught 150 of my past clients Quantum Leap before because they don't have any resources to sit down and spend all day and talk about your life and how to have a big life. So what is something so different that no one else could do, right?
Yeah.
Well, most people, because they're not with KW, wouldn't think to use the shift book because they don't, they just, number one, they just wouldn't. And so I would probably lean towards that kind of stuff. I would say, what are my people thinking in their head? I love all the cute advertising. Like we used to have a dog, and an Irish setter dog that was our neighbors, and we'd say dependable and trustworthy, and so is the dog. All that stuff is eye-catching and fun, but that's just to get their attention. At the end of the day, I'm going to try to show up as the expert and say, what are they asking themselves in their head right now? What in the world is going to happen next in this market? I have not met a person yet that didn't find out I was in real estate. And the first thing they asked me is, what do you think is going to happen in the market?
Totally.
So why don't you just lead with that?
Yeah.
Let me tell you what I think is going to happen in the market, just kind of be that reason. And I'll look for anything where I can get 50 eyes looking at me instead of 2. So I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to offer some place that I can get a group of people to come, because wherever there's a large number of people, there's an opportunity for you to do business. And because I'm going to give and contribute, I'm going to create beholdenness and reciprocity. And they're either going to send somebody to me or they're going to do something with me. So I would probably do an investor seminar. I would do shift seminar. I would do whatever I could to get in front of people.
Yeah. Two of the things that I would like to add is that one of the things that I started doing, because we've had a lot of forest fires in California. And so people have been underinsured. And so because people, the values of property have escalated so much that unless your insurance company has given you a call, which they don't, then you're probably underinsured. So being able to call people now, that's a really good way to call them and say, I'd really love to talk to you about the value of your home and have you talk to your insurance person.
Terry, what's funny about that you just said? Actually, our jeweler, I tend to like jewelry a little bit, and our jeweler called us and said, hey, I just wanted to give you a heads up that your diamonds are so up right now that diamonds are worth like twice as much as what they were even 2 years ago. And he said, you all need to have your jewelry reappraised. I'm happy to do it for you so that you can change your insurance. Yes. And I looked at Adam and I said, man, that's good service. I mean, because I would never have thought to call and add that change, get new appraisals on my jewelry and add it to our insurance. But even doing that, like you said, with the fires, to me, I thought, I wonder how many other jewelry people are doing that with their clients. Probably not a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Terry, sorry, you had one more.
Yeah, the other one, we're just starting to do this. Unfortunately, I've had several clients in the last year pass away. I mean, young, like 50 years old. And they passed away, and the spouse didn't know anything about anything. They didn't know the passwords. They didn't know how to get into the bank, and so we're putting together Zoom seminars talking about, we call it the Red Book Project. And what it is getting a binder and getting all of this information together, and so I put it into my newsletter, and I just put a little teaser in there, and I got a bunch of people who said, I'm really interested in that.
Yeah. And I was telling Terry, I remember when my son-in-law passed away, my daughter and I we didn't have his passcodes. She didn't know the bank account numbers. We were so lost. Yeah. What a great idea to add value and get a chance to be with your people. I love this.
And everybody needs that, no matter how.
Everybody.
And then not having a will or a trust.
Yeah.
So you can, we're going to put a whole series together. So we'll have an attorney that will come on. We can have the insurance person come on, about the having enough insurance. And so we could put a whole, series together on this.
Well, I think, Terry, we just figured out what you'll have to come on the podcast next and talk about.
Exactly.
People are already in the chat saying, I need to know what goes in the binder.
Yeah, exactly. I remember I Googled a lot because after it happened to Andrew and we were so lost for so long. I mean,
Yeah.
she didn't know how to get in his Facebook page to
Wow.
get messages from people. I mean, there's just so many things you don't think about. But I Googled and started with just what I could find on not just in the Google to figure out what people said you should have put together.
And again, if you Google, there's all kinds of different books and things. And so what I'm doing is we're taking
your name on it.
Yeah, we're taking all of this stuff and plagiarizing, bringing it all together on the things that we want. And then Raymond, my husband, has a designation in grief counseling. And so he's gonna put grief counseling stuff in there. And, things about like, if you were to go tomorrow, who would you wish that you had said something to? So write those letters beforehand.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
So,
You know what I love about that, and honestly, this has like really been this whole training, which has been so good, is you aren't just you and everybody, you're not just a realtor that sells houses that when you want to have longevity and you want to last, you become their everything.
Your confidant. Everything.
Yeah. The more value that you can give, the more relationship that you can build, the more that you notice, the more that you're the expert, the more that you are all of these things. Like, I love even that you are still doing the letter from the heart. Like, you can do them, be consistent with them. You're not just their real estate agent anymore. You're everything. And those are the people that take market share during a shift.
And it's so interesting because I always ask my clients, how they, how do they perceive me?
Yeah.
And they always say, I care.
Yeah. Well, this weekend, she left the conference and went and visited one of her past clients who husband had died.
Yeah.
And she moved here. And so Terry, because I asked Terry, I said, gosh, she had 40 clients move away last year. I'm like, are you going to be out of business or anything? She said, I said, what are you going to do to replace us? Do you tell everybody they got to bring somebody before they leave town? But she said, I don't take them off my list.
Oh.
So they still refer to me because they still know people in that area. And she
Friends are
still
still
treats
there,
them like they're her client. I love that.
Well,
I mean,
if I put something in my in a mailing and it says it's a coupon for something, I ask them if they will send the coupon to somebody who still lives in Thousand Oaks.
Oh, great idea. Love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we're 4 minutes over. Thank everybody hung on. So they must have got something. So thank you guys so much. This was like such a good bonus to have Terry. So thanks for sharing. So
I gotta share my great friends with everybody.
I know. So if you guys could give them some thanks and love in the chat, that we've already gotten tons of it, but we will be sending out the recording. I took copious notes as per usual. So I'll send out the best questions and the ideas and all of those things. And if you guys have any other questions, just let us know and we'll get it from those ladies. And then now we've got to have Terry back on the podcast. So we need to work on that.
You got it. We'll do it.
Thank you guys. Enjoy your time together. Tell Nikki hi.
I will. See you. Bye.
You're going to stay on for Tech Tuesday.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Jen. Okay. I won't shut it out till they get on for you. Thanks, guys. Thank you all for being here.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.